At 7 years old, Anna already knew the world was divided between those who believed and those who pretended to believe. She looked at her own shadow on the schoolyard pavement as if expecting it to do something different from what everyone else repeated. That she was too sensitive, that she made things up, that she needed to stop drawing attention to herself. The message had been sent by mistake to the wrong number on Thursday night at 10 o'clock, and it simply read, "He broke Mom's arm again. She's crying in the bathroom and said she fell, but I saw it." The man who received the message was named Ricardo. He was 42, a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu for 12 years, taught at a small gym in the city's north end, and until that moment, he had never cried reading a 17-word sentence written by an unknown child. He reread the message 7 times before realizing his hands were shaking. The phone screen lit up his face in the dark room, and he knew that if he replied wrong, if he scared the girl, if he asked a hasty question, she would disappear, and that pain would remain floating in the silence, as it always had in so many homes he could never reach. Ricardo had 2 daughters, 9 and 12, and he knew how to recognize the tone of a child who isn't asking for help because they've learned asking doesn't work. He typed slowly, deleted, typed again, deleted once more, until he found the right words. "Hi, you sent this message to me by mistake, but I read it. Are you safe now?" The reply took only minutes, and when it arrived, he felt his stomach turn. "Sorry, please delete it." Ricardo didn't delete it. Anna woke up every day at 6:15 in the morning because her mother's alarm clock went off on the other side of the wall, and she heard the muffled sound of someone getting up slowly, as if every movement hurt. Mom worked at a beauty parlor and left the house at 7, always in long sleeves, always with her purse slung over her right shoulder because the left one was tender. Anna learned not to ask. She drank coffee alone, put on her school uniform, tied her hair back with the pink hair tie that was fading, and walked 3 blocks to the gate where the school van stopped. Inside the van, she always sat in the same spot, near the window, and watched the street go by as if watching a silent movie. The other kids talked, laughed, fought over snacks, but Anna stayed quiet. The Portuguese teacher, Mrs. Celia, had said at the parent-teacher conference that Anna was too introspective for her age, and the principal had agreed with a nod while flipping through papers that had nothing to do with Anna. Anna's mom had gone to that meeting with her left arm immobilized in a makeshift sling, and when they asked what happened, she smiled and said she had slipped in the bathroom. Nobody asked anything else. Anna was in the next room and heard everything through the ajar door. She bit her lip until she tasted blood and kept drawing purple flowers on a notebook sheet. Ricardo couldn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of the bed, holding his phone, reading and rereading the girl's message as if he could extract more information by looking deeper into the words. He knew that kind of sentence. He had heard variations of it in locker room talk, in stories gym buddies told quietly, in news that appeared in the paper and vanished the next day because nobody wanted to talk about it for long. He knew that breaking someone's arm took strength, anger, and the certainty that there would be no consequences. He also knew that a 7-year-old writing again had already learned that violence was a pattern, not an accident. Ricardo got up, went to the kitchen, drank water straight from the tap, and stared out the window at the empty backyard. He thought about his own daughters sleeping in the next room, safe, protected, and felt a mix of gratitude and guilt that left him breathless. He went back to the bedroom, grabbed his phone, and typed another message. "I won't judge you. I won't tell anyone if you don't want me to, but if you need help, I can try to find someone who knows what to do. The reply came in the early morning at 3:20. Nobody believes me. At school, Anna had an invisible routine. She would arrive, hand her planner to the teacher to sign, sit in the second desk of the left row, open her pencil case, and organize her colored pencils by shade. She didn't raise her hand to answer questions, mas she didn't cause trouble either. At recess, she stayed near the tree in the corner of the playground, eating the snack her mom had packed the morning before, a buttered roll and a juice box. The other girls played jump rope, tag, or with dolls, but Anna was never called over. She didn't complain. Once, a classmate named Beatriz had asked why she never played, and Anna had replied that she preferred to stay quiet. Beatriz had laughed and said she was weird, and Anna had nodded as if it were a compliment. The truth was, Anna was afraid of being touched unexpectedly, of someone bumping into her by accident, because that reminded her of other things. She was also afraid of laughing too loudly and drawing attention, because drawing attention meant questions, and questions meant lies, and lies meant shame. So she stayed quiet. The gym teacher, a young woman named Larissa, had tried to include Anna in the games a few times, but Anna would always ask to go to the bathroom or say she had a headache. After 3 weeks, Larissa stopped pushing it. Anna noticed and felt relief, mixed with a sadness she couldn't name. Ricardo spent the entire weekend thinking about the girl. He taught classes Saturday morning, trained with the advanced students in the afternoon, had dinner with his family, watched a movie with his daughters, but his mind was elsewhere. He pictured a girl alone in a dark room, hearing shouts from the other side of the wall, trying to decide whether to do something or pretend to be asleep. He pictured her mother hiding bruises, making up excuses, smiling at neighbors while holding back the pain. He pictured the man who broke bones as if he owned another person. Ricardo had spent his whole life learning to control his strength, to use restraint techniques to protect without hurting, to teach respect and discipline. He knew exactly how many pounds of pressure were needed to dislocate a joint, to stop breathing, to cause permanent damage. And he knew that using that knowledge outside the dojo, outside the context of the sport, was crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But he also knew there were situations where the line was invisible, because nobody cared to draw it. He picked up his phone again and wrote, "Can you tell me your name? Just the first one. You don't have to tell me anything else if you don't want to." The reply came Sunday night. Anna. Anna had a notebook hidden under her mattress where she drew things she couldn't say. She drew her mother with a bandaged arm. She drew the bathroom door shut. She drew a large, dark, faceless figure in the corner of the page. She drew flowers. Lots of flowers. Because flowers were pretty, it didn't make noise. Once, the art teacher had asked everyone to draw their families, and Anna had only drawn herself and her mother, holding hands, in a house with open windows and a yellow sun in the sky. The teacher had praised the colors, but had asked where her father was. Anna had said he didn't live with them, and the teacher quickly changed the subject as if she had asked an inappropriate question. Anna didn't correct her. The truth was more complicated. He did live there, but he wasn't a father. He was a burden. Anna didn't know how to explain that with words, so she left it blank. She always kept the notebook in the same place, carefully, because if someone saw it, if someone asked, she would have to choose between lying or telling the truth, and both options were bad. At night, before sleeping, She would open the notebook and draw another flower. The flowers never died on paper. Ricardo decided he needed help. He couldn't just barge into a strange child's life without understanding the consequences. He called a lawyer friend named Patricia, who specialized in family law, and explained the situation without giving details that could identify Anna. Patricia listened to everything in silence and then said, "Ricardo, you know this is sensitive. If you call Child Protective Services without proof, they'll investigate. But if the mother denies it, if the kid is scared to talk, it won't lead to anything. And if the abuser finds out someone reported them, the situation could get worse." Ricardo felt his blood run cold. "So, what do I do? Pretend I didn't see the message?" Patricia sighed. "I'm not saying that. I'm saying you need more information. You need to earn the girl's trust, find out where she lives, understand the context. And you have to do it without scaring her. It's painstaking work, Ricardo, and it might not have a happy ending." Ricardo thanked her and hung up. He knew Patricia was right, but he also knew that every day that passed was another day Anna woke up scared. He typed another message. "Anna, I really want to help you. Can you tell me where you live, or the name of your school?" Anna didn't reply for 2 days. On Wednesday, Anna was called into the principal's office. The principal, a woman with graying hair and a tired voice, had received a call from Beatrice's mother saying Anna was too withdrawn and that it wasn't normal. The principal asked Anna if everything was okay at home, if she had friends, if she needed to talk to someone. Anna replied yes, that everything was fine, that she just liked to keep to herself. The principal looked at her for a long time, as if trying to decide whether to believe her or not, and then said Anna could go back to class. Anna left the office with her heart pounding and her hands sweating. She knew the principal didn't believe her, but she also knew the principal wasn't going to do anything. That's how it worked. People asked, you lied. They accepted the lie because it was easier than dealing with the truth. Anna went back to class, sat at her desk, picked up the pink pencil, and kept copying the words from the board. When class ended, she went home on the van, walked in the front door, dropped her backpack on the couch, and went straight to her room. Her mom wasn't home yet. She picked up the phone she got for her birthday, that simple phone that only worked for texts and calls, and saw that the wrong number guy had texted again. She read the message 3 times before replying. Flor do Campo Municipal School, North End. And then, please, don't tell anyone. Ricardo felt his chest tighten when he read the reply. He knew that school. It was 15 minutes from the gym. He had driven past it many times, seen kids leaving through the gates, running, shouting, living. One of them was Anna. He put his phone away and stood still in the middle of the training room, listening to the muffled sound of punches hitting the heavy bags, the squeak of the mat under the students' bare feet, the heavy breathing of those learning how to fall without getting hurt. He had built that place to teach control, discipline, respect, and now he was about to use everything he knew to do something he wasn't sure was right, but knew was necessary. He waited until the end of the day, locked up the dojo, and headed to the school. He got close to the gate just as the kids were leaving, and watched from a distance, trying to spot Anna. He saw dozens of girls, but none seemed to be her. He was about to give up when he saw a small girl, her hair tied back with a pink scrunchie, walking alone toward a school bus. She got in and sat near the window, and Ricardo saw her face reflected in the glass. She looked tired. He mentally noted the bus number, the license plate, the color. He didn't know what he was going to do with this information yet, but he knew he needed it. Anna got home and found her mom sitting at the kitchen table. Her left arm is still in a sling, and an expression of exhaustion that seemed to have permanently settled on her face. Her mom smiled when she saw Anna, that small, sad smile Anna knew so well, and asked how school was. Anna said it was normal. Her mom nodded and went back to staring at the cold cup of coffee in front of her. Anna went to her room, closed the door, sat on the bed, and stared at her phone. She didn't know why she had told that man the name of the school. She didn't know if she could trust him. But something inside her, something small and stubborn, thought he was different. Maybe because he hadn't asked too many questions, or because he had promised not to tell, or because his voice in the messages sounded genuine. Anna wasn't sure. She just knew she was tired of carrying everything alone. She grabbed the notebook from under the mattress and drew another flower, this one blue, with big petals and a strong stem. And then, for the first time, she drew a person next to the flower, a person standing tall, firm, shielding the flower from the wind. Ricardo spent the following days trying to put together a plan. He knew he couldn't just approach Anna in front of the school or try to talk to her mom out of the blue. He needed something more solid, something that wouldn't spook anyone but also wouldn't leave room for doubt. He decided to look for more information about the school, about the neighborhood, about possible support networks. He discovered there was a health clinic 3 blocks from the school and that a social assistance program operated there. He also found out that the local Child Protective Services office was swamped with few staff and many cases. He understood what Patricia had said. The system didn't work because it lacked the structure to work. People fell through the cracks and nobody noticed until it was too late. Ricardo wasn't going to let Anna fall. He wrote to her again. "Anna, you are so brave. I wanted you to know that, and I wanted you to know you're not alone. I'm going to find a way to help you and your mom, but I need you to trust me a little longer. Can you do that?" Anna replied an hour later, "Yes." The situation at Anna's house got worse on Friday. The man who lived with them, whom Anna nunca chamava de pai ou padrasto, canhou antes do serviço e começou a gritar com sua mãe sobre algo que Anna não conseguia entender. Ela estava em seu quarto, a porta fechada, mas podia ouvir tudo. Seu rouco, angorado voz, sua mãe tentando acalmar as coisas, o som de algo quebrando na cozinha. Anna agarrou-se na cama, cobriu seus ouvidos com as mãos e começou a contar silenciosamente. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ela contava para distrair-se de si mesma, para fazer o tempo passar mais rápido, para não ouvir. Quando chegou a 100, o barulho havia parado. Ela ouviu a porta do fundo fechar e soube que ele havia saído. Ela esperou mais 10 minutos antes de sair de seu quarto. A mãe estava sentada no chão da cozinha, apoiada no armário, seu rosto enterrado em suas mãos. Anna lentamente se aproximou e sentou-se ao lado dela. A mãe levantou o rosto e Anna viu que havia chorado, mas estava tentando escondê-lo. "É ok, filha", ela disse, vaipando seus choros com o casaco. "Foi só uma briga boba." Anna não disse nada. Justamente apertou a mão de sua mãe e ficou ali, sentada no chão frio da cozinha, até que sua mãe parasse de tremer. Ricardo Neu sabia que estava correndo contra o tempo. Não tinha evidências formais, não registros, não testemunhas. Tudo o que tinha era uma mensagem de uma criança com medo e um sentimento de que algo estava errado. Mas ele também sabia que um sentimento não era o suficiente em um mundo que demandava papelados, protocolos, prova. He decided he needed to do something risky. He was going to try to talk to Anna directly. Not to interrogate her, not to force her to do something she didn't want to, but to establish a real connection, foothold. He waited until Monday and went to the school again. This time, he didn't stay outside. He went in, walked up to the front office and asked to speak to the principal. The secretary asked why, and Ricardo said it was about a community project he was planning and that he wanted to partner with the school. The secretary wrote down his name and said the principal was busy, could see him on Wednesday. Ricardo agreed and left. He knew this was just the first step, but it was a step in the right direction. Anna got a message on Monday night. I'm going to try to talk to someone at your school. I won't mention you specifically, I promise, but I'm going to try to find a way to help you without putting you out there. Do you trust me? Anna read the message 10 times. She was scared. Fear that he would tell. Fear that things would get worse. Fear that her mom would find out. Fear that he would turn into just another grown-up who promised to help and then vanished. But she also held a small, fragile hope, the size of a seed, that maybe this time would be different. She replied, I trust you. And then, because she didn't know what else to say, she added, thank you. Ricardo read that word, thank you, and felt a lump in his throat. He knew he couldn't let that girl down. He couldn't be another grown-up who failed her. He needed to get this right. On Wednesday, Ricardo went to the school. He was met by the principal, Mrs. Marta, a woman with a slow way of speaking and tired eyes. He explained that he owned a Jiu-Jitsu gym and would like to offer free classes to some of the kids at the school, especially those from vulnerable families. He talked about discipline, respect, self-control, self-esteem. Mrs. Marta listened with interest and said she thought the idea was valid, but she would need to speak with the academic coordination team and the parents. Ricardo agreed and said he could give a presentation to interested parents. Mrs. Marta took down his contact information and promised to get back to him. Ricardo left the meeting feeling like he had planted a seed, but he didn't know yet if it would sprout. He texted Anna that night. I spoke with your principal. I didn't tell her anything about you, but I offered free jiu-jitsu classes to some kids. Maybe you could join. What do you think? Anna replied quickly, I've never done that. And then, can I try? 2 weeks later, the school sent a letter home to the parents informing them about the jiu-jitsu project. Anna's mom read the letter and asked if Anna wanted to participate. Anna said yes, with a contained excitement her mom hadn't seen in a long time. Her mom signed the permission slip and Anna took the paper back to school. The following Saturday, Anna went to her first class. Ricardo's dojo was small, clean, smelling of new mats, com walls decoradas com competition photos e colorful belts. There were 6 kids in a class, all between 7 and 10 years old. Ricardo gritou Idetuan respeitosamente, ascou seus nomes e explicou as regras. Respeito acima de tudo. Não machucar ninguém. Todos aprendem juntos. Anna esteve no canto, quiet, watching. Ricardo notou e aproximou. You're Anna, right? Ele disse seu nome cuidadosamente, como segurando algo frágil. Anna nodou. Welcome, ele disse, e sorriu em uma maneira que não fosse forçada. Anna sentiu algo estranho em seu peito. Era relívio. As classes beconaram o highlight de Anna's vida. She aprendeu a falhar sem se machucar, a rolar, a defender-se sozinha. Ricardo toava com paciência. Repetia os movimentos às vezes necessárias, corrigia gentilmente. Ele nunca errou, nunca perdeu seu têmpero, nunca fez ninguém se sentir estúpido ou incapaz. Anna começou a gostar daquele lugar, porque lá tinha controle. She podia aprender a proteger seu próprio corpo, a sair de situações perigosas, a dizer não firmemente. E ela realizou que Ricardo olhava ela diferente do que outros adultos dizem. Ele olhava como se realmente a visse. Um dia, após classe, Ricardo pediu a conversar com Ana privadamente. She tensou-se, mas ele foi direto ao ponto. Ana, eu sei que está passando por algo difícil em casa. Você não precisa me dizer agora, mas quero que saiba que, se um dia quiser conversar ou se precisar de ajuda, eu estou aqui. And I will do whatever it takes to protect you. Anna felt her eyes sting, mas she didn't cry. She just nodded. And for the first time in a long time, she felt like she wasn't alone. Ricardo started noticing small signs. Anna always showed up wearing long sleeves even in the heat. She avoided sudden movements with her left arm. She had a way of flinching when someone raised their voice, even if it wasn't directed at her. He didn't need more proof, he knew, but knowing wasn't enough. He needed a strategy that would protect Anna without putting her in greater danger. He decided to talk to Anna's mother. He waited until the end of a class and asked to speak with her privately. Anna's mother, a thin woman with deep-set eyes, agreed. Ricardo was careful. He praised Anna's progress, said she was a dedicated student, and then, in a calm voice, said, I've worked with kids for many years, and I know how to recognize when a child is carrying a weight they shouldn't. Anna is a strong girl, but I can see she's hurting. If there's anything I can do to help you both, anything at all, I'm here for you. Anna's mother was silent for a long time. Her eyes filled with tears, but she held them back. Thank you, she said, her voice cracking, but everything is fine. Ricardo knew it wasn't, but he didn't push it. He just handed her a card with his number and said, If you change your mind, I'm here. Anna's mother tucked the card into her purse and left quickly. Mas Ricardo saw her clutching the card tightly, like it was a lifeline. 3 weeks later, Anna's mother called. It was midnight. She was crying so hard Ricardo could barely understand what she was saying. He broke my rib this time, she whispered. I can't take it anymore. My daughter can't take it anymore. Ricardo felt his blood boil, but he kept his voice steady. Where are you right now? At home. He went out. Are you safe for now? Yes. Can you leave the house early tomorrow with Anna? I think so. Then do that. I'm going to help you. You are not alone. Ricardo hung up and spent the night getting everything organized. He called Patricia, the lawyer, and explained the situation. She said she would prepare an emergency protective order. He called a social worker friend who worked at a temporary shelter for women experiencing violence. She said they had openings. He called the gym and canceled his morning classes. He was going to pick up Anna and her mom, and he was going to make sure they were safe. The next morning, Ricardo parked his car 2 blocks from Anna's house. Her mom came out with a small backpack and Anna beside her, wearing her school bag. They quickly got into the car and Ricardo drove in silence to the shelter. The place was discreet, secure, with staff trained to handle situations like that. The social worker greeted them kindly, explained the procedures, and showed them the room where they would be staying. Anna looked at Ricardo before going in, and he saw fear and relief mixed in her eyes. He crouched down to be at her level and said, "You were so brave, Anna. You saved your mom and yourself. I'm going to keep helping you, I promise." Anna nodded, and for the first time since he had known her, she smiled. It was a small smile, still uncertain, but it was real. In the following days, Ricardo kept a close eye on everything. The protective order was granted, forbidding the abuser from approaching Anna and her mother. The police went to the house and removed their belongings. Child Protective Services was notified and opened a monitoring case. Anna's mother started therapy and found a temporary job through the shelter's program. Anna continued attending school, now on a different van that picked her up directly from the shelter. And she kept going to her Jiu-Jitsu classes on Saturdays. Ricardo never charged anything. He also started offering extra classes to the other kids at the shelter, for free, because he realized many of them needed it as much as Anna. A safe place, discipline, control over their own bodies, the feeling that they could defend themselves. Anna started to change. She was still quiet, but now it was a different kind of quiet, not heavy with fear, but light with confidence. She started making friends at school, she started smiling more. She started raising her hand in class to answer questions. Her Portuguese teacher noticed and mentioned it to the principal, who mentioned it to the social worker, who mentioned it to Ricardo. "You made a difference in her life," the social worker said. Ricardo shook his head. "It wasn't just me, it was her. She was the one brave enough to send that message." If you believe every child deserves protection, comment protection. 6 months later, Anna's mom managed to rent a small apartment in a safe part of town. She had a steady job, was going to therapy regularly, and for the first time in years was rebuilding her own life. Anna kept up with the Jiu-Jitsu classes, and now she was a yellow belt. Ricardo organized a small ceremony to hand out the new belts, and Anna stepped onto the mat with shining eyes. When he tied the belt around her waist, he whispered just for her to hear, "You are one of the strongest people I know." Anna hugged him tightly, and Ricardo had to hold back tears. After the ceremony, Anna's mom approached him and said, "I can never thank you enough for what you did for us." Ricardo smiled. "You already are thanking me. You left. You protected your daughter. That's everything." Anna's story started to spread quietly through the community. Other moms, other kids started flocking to the gym. Ricardo realized he needed to expand the project. He talked to other Jiu-Jitsu instructors, psychologists, social workers, and together they created a more structured program, martial arts classes combined with discussion circles about respect, boundaries, and what to do when someone crosses those lines. They called the program Safe Mat. Anna's school became an official partner, and other schools in the area asked to join. Ricardo never imagined that a wrong text message in the middle of the night could turn into something so big. But he learned that sometimes mistakes are just disguises for encounters that needed to happen. Anna turned tenant and had a small party at the new apartment. She invited a few school friends, Miss Larissa, the social worker from the shelter, and Ricardo with his daughters. It was a simple party, with chocolate cake and orange juice, but it was full of smiles. Ricardo watched Anna running around the living room, laughing, playing, and felt a gratitude so immense it almost hurt. He thought about how different everything could have been if that message hadn't reached him, if he had deleted it like Anna asked, if he had kept quiet. He thought about how many other Annas were out there, sending messages that no one answered, waiting for someone who never showed up. And he decided he would keep answering, always. If you've ever seen someone suffering silence, comment, "I saw." Anna's mom pulled Ricardo aside and said, "I wanted you to know that I finalized the divorce, and I got full custody of Anna." The judge ruled that he can't come near us indefinitely. Ricardo smiled. "That's great. You two deserve this peace." She nodded, and then said something he would never forget. "You know, some people save lives in hospitals, in the fire department, in wars. But you saved our lives in a way no one sees. You gave us our dignity back, and that's worth more than anything." Ricardo didn't know what to say. He just hugged her and said, "You saved yourselves. I just held the door open." At the gym, Ricardo hung a phrase on the wall that Anna had written on a piece of paper and given him on the last day of class for the year. "Thank you for believing when no one else did." He looked at that phrase every day before starting class, and it reminded him why he did what he did. It wasn't about belts, medals, or competitions. It was about creating a space where kids like Anna could learn that their bodies were their own, that they had the right to say no, that they deserved to be protected. And it was about being present, about answering when someone asked for help, even if it was by mistake. If you believe family is a choice, comment family. Anna kept growing. She became an orange belt, then green. She started helping Ricardo in class with the younger kids, teaching the basic moves with the same patience he had taught her. She was still quiet, but now it was a quietness full of strength, not fear. She still drew flowers in her notebook, but now she also drew people next to the flowers, people standing tall, firm, protecting. And every time a new kid walked into the gym, shy and scared, Anna would approach and say the same thing Ricardo had told her on the first day. "Welcome, you are safe here." Ricardo never told anyone about the original message. That was between him and Anna, a secret that connected them in a way words couldn't explain. But he knew that message had changed his life just as much as it had changed hers. He had taught that strength wasn't just physical, that courage wasn't the absence of fear, and that sometimes the most powerful thing a person could do was simply show up when someone needed them. He looked at Anna, now 12, smiling as she taught a 7-year-old girl how to nail a perfect roll, and he knew he had made the right choice. He had answered. He had believed. And that had made all the difference. If this part touched you, comment where you're watching from. On the night of the belt ceremony, when Anna received her purple belt, she walked onto the mat and asked to speak. Ricardo was surprised because Anna had never asked to speak in public. She stood there, holding her new belt, and said in a steady voice, "I want to thank Professor Ricardo. He taught me that being strong isn't about never falling down. It's about knowing how to get back up. And he taught me that asking for help isn't weakness. It's courage." The audience applauded. Ricardo felt his eyes sting. Anna looked directly at him and said, "Thank you for answering." Ricardo nodded, unable to speak. And in that moment, he understood that that wrong message had actually been the rightest message he had ever received in his life. Years went by. Anna graduated high school, went to college for psychology, and started volunteering at the same shelter where she had stayed with her mom. She worked with kids going through what she had gone through, using everything she had learned, on the mat and in life, to help them find their strength. Ricardo kept teaching, expanding the program, training new instructors, building support networks. He never stopped believing that one message, one gesture, one presence could change everything. And he was right. Anna's mom completely rebuilt her life, remarried someone who treated her with respect, and finally managed to look at her own reflection in the mirror without feeling ashamed. And all of this had started with 17 words accidentally sent to the wrong number in the middle of the night. If you believe one gesture can change everything, comment guts. The last time Ricardo saw Anna before she moved to another city for her master's degree, they met at the empty gym after everyone else had left. They talked about life, about plans, about the future. And at the end, Anna asked, "Do you think it would have been different if I hadn't sent that text?" Ricardo thought for a moment and said, "I think you would have found another way. Because you've always been brave, Anna, right from the start. Anna smiled. That smile that was now wide and confident. I don't know, but I know you taught me that it's worth believing in people, and that sometimes the most important things in life happen by accident. Ricardo agreed. Or maybe it's not an accident. Maybe it's just the universe trying to fix what's broken. They hugged, and when Anna walked out the door, Ricardo stood there on the empty mat, thinking about all the lives that still needed someone to reply, to believe, to show up. And he promised himself he would never stop doing that. Because some texts shouldn't be deleted. Some texts need to be answered. Always.